I'm Amelia, and I have cerebral palsy from birth. I will not sugarcoat the fact that growing up wasn't always easy. To put it mildly, my parents found it difficult to comprehend having a child of my caliber. My left arm doesn't operate properly, and my spine has an independent will of its own. It is a little slack. All of this comes together to give me a somewhat different appearance than your typical Joe, or Jane in my case. Even though I was just a small thing, I can still recall those early days. At first, my mother couldn't even bring herself to hold me. I felt as though I were an extraterrestrial or something. I was looked after by this nanny instead. Though I suppose she was kind enough, it just wasn't the same as having your mother present, you know? It was my grandma who suggested the babysitter. Grandma was a lady who understood how to show affection. She was indifferent to my appearance or gait. I was simply her grandchild in her eyes. I can't even begin to count how many times I was glad she was loaded. Things at home didn't exactly get better as I grew older. Strolling was an actual pain in the ass. After a few paces, I would fall to the ground face first. And my mother, she would only observe me as I struggled. She'd add, not even attempting to mask her distaste, "You need to learn to get up on your own, Amelia." I wasn't dumb, though. She simply didn't want to touch me. That much I knew. I felt as though I had some sort of infection. When I reached the big 0 to 5, things really started to change. Mom became pregnant once more, and my younger sister came out 9 months later. This youngster was truly exceptional, everything that I wasn't. Adorable, lively, and most significantly to my mother, typical. After that day, I felt as though I had vanished from sight. Mom was enamored with her newborn daughter. She would take selfies with her for hours on end and share them on social media. She would write, "Look at my beautiful daughter," and I would ask myself, what about me? I mean, I'm also your daughter. My mobility didn't really become any better as I grew older. My regular friends were crutches, and on my worst days, I would roll about in a wheelchair. Although it wasn't perfect, you had to make do with what you have, right? My mother would constantly make up reasons not to let me go out. "Oh, Amelia, it's not safe for you in other people's houses," she'd remark. Or, "The shopping center isn't equipped for someone like you, sweetie." I was not born yesterday, though. I saw right through her even at that young age. It was not about comfort or safety for me. All she felt uncomfortable about was being seen with me. Please don't let her pals see her with her unique daughter. In other words, my sister got to travel, make friends, and make memories. But my childhood was reduced to a never-ending loop of 4 walls and a ceiling. I was confined to my house, gazing out the window at life going by. My parents detested traveling any place with me, and they made no effort to disguise this fact. It seemed as though I was a weight that they had to bear. You would think that things would change when school started, wouldn't you? By accident. Rather than enrolling me in a typical school where I may perhaps connect with other children my age, my parents demanded that Grandma pay for a special education. With his eyes barely touching me, Dad would add, "It's for the best, Amelia. You'll be with kids who understand you better." He truly intended to say, "We don't want you to make us look bad at a regular school." But really, who needs different experiences and social skills? So every day, I left with a nanny that Grandma had hired. Not because the nanny wasn't pleasant. It just wasn't the same as having your parents leave you off. Grandma, meanwhile, was another story. Grandma was all about fostering my growth, while my parents were occupied with acting as though I didn't exist. "How about we take a little trip this weekend?" she would ask, her eyes sparkling. "Amelia, my dear." And then I would suddenly find myself on excursions I had never imagined being able to have. We would travel to parks, museums, and even make quick excursions to neighboring cities. I felt like a regular child for the first time in my life. But Grandma didn't stop there. She paid for massages, physical therapy, experimental treatments, you name it, because she was determined to give me every chance to get better. She would tell me, her voice full of confidence, "Amelia, with the right care, there's nothing you can't do. You're going to have a wonderful life, full of friends and joy. You'll see." I can recall this one occasion when, following a really taxing therapy session, I felt quite self-critical. Naturally, Grandma noticed. She always did. "My dear, what's the matter?" she inquired as she took a seat next me. "Why bother with all this, Grandma?" I responded, pointing to my body's resistance. "It's not like I'm ever going to be normal." She forced me to look at her by taking my face in her hands. "Listen to me, Amelia. The term normal does not exist. Everybody has different difficulties and obstacles. That's all, yours are simply somewhat more noticeable. However, that does not lessen your worth for friendship, love, or a fulfilling life. Do you hear me? For you, that was Grandma, always there with a hug, a supportive remark, or an unexpected treat. When nobody else did, not even myself, she had faith in me. And I began, slowly but certainly, to believe as well. Grandma surprised us one day on her birthday by telling us that she wanted to celebrate at a posh restaurant. While this might not seem like a huge issue to most families, to us it was like she had recommended that we all go skydiving. Mom entered my room the following day with a fake grin. "Amelia, sweetheart, you're not feeling well, are you? Grandma's having a birthday supper at a restaurant. Probably better off staying at home." I was familiar with the procedure. I was supposed to be the understanding, nice daughter and just nod in agreement. But I lost it inside of me. "Mom, I feel well, actually. I would adore to attend Grandma's supper." She lost all of her color. "Oh, but you know how weary you get, and the restaurant might not be accessible. You would be better off staying at home." Just as I was about to fight, the doorbell rang. Mom's terrified eyes grew wider. Grandma is that person. Get in bed now and act as though you're unwell. However, it was already too late. Grandma came bustling in, gave me a knowing smile after seeing me sitting up in my wheelchair. "There's my girl, all ready for dinner, I see." Mom began to mumble some excuse about my being sick, but Grandma would have none of it. She approached me directly, placed her palm on my head, and said, "I don't feel like I have a fever. Let's get you to that restaurant, Amelia, come on." Suddenly, my sister and I were crammed into Grandma's car beside my parents, who appeared to be going to a funeral rather than a birthday party. My sister was also in her lovely new outfit. When we got there, the restaurant was bustling. To my amazement, the relatives I visited were actually delighted to see me, even though I hadn't seen them in years. I couldn't help but notice how Mom sat as far away from me as possible as we settled down for supper. She seemed to be talking and joking with everyone else while ignoring me. I really did try my best to eat nicely, but occasionally, my hand simply isn't cooperative. Every time I spilled food or created a mess, I watched Mom cringe. God bless her heart, Grandma never missed a beat. She made sure I was comfortable, spoke with me like I was the most fascinating person at the table, and assisted me when I needed it. "Susan, why aren't you helping Amelia with her meal?" she yelled at Mom once. Mom's face reddened. She grabbed my sister fast and put on a false grin. "Oh, I can't manage both girls at once. Mom, you know how it is." Grandma's eyes flashed with wrath, but before she could say anything, Dad got up out of his chair. "Well, it's probably time for us to return home, even if this has been great. Amelia seems worn out." I didn't feel worn out. I was enjoying myself immensely. but I was too smart to argue. Dad was wheeling me out when I saw Grandma's expression. She offered me a little wink despite her dejected expression. She was conveying the message, "Don't worry, I've got your back." We had a quiet drive home, and all I could think about was the evening. Yes, there had been unpleasant and embarrassing moments, but there had also been brief moments when I felt like a true member of the family. Furthermore, what do you know? All of the discomfort in the world was worth that sensation. I had that unpleasant sensation with me all through my youth. I would receive the same old song and dance whenever we had visitors. You know, the normal folks my parents genuinely wanted to hang out with. "Amelia," Mom would remark in a falsely sweet manner, "how about you take a little break and go to your room? We have guests." It hurt at first, but I eventually became accustomed to it. I would then wheel myself into my room, close the door, and bide my time. As I sat there by myself, trying not to feel strange in my own house, I would listen to the laughing and conversation, the sounds of a typical family enjoying their time. However, what's the deal? If I'm not flexible, then what am I? I managed to teach myself how to cook despite having trembling hands and dropping many dishes during the process. I took up drawing as a way to put my emotions on paper when I couldn't say them out. I wrote too, and boy, did I write. Most of my poetry is just small bursts of emotion that I could never fully put into words. The ironic thing is that, for a while, I believed my younger sister to be an ally in this whole situation. She used to adore me, truly love me, when she was a little baby. With her wide eyes and round cheeks, she would come toddling into my room, wanting to be close to me. She must have been 3 years old the one time she entered my room when I was sketching. She shrieked, "Mia," not quite managing Amelia at the moment. "Draw me." I completed it, then she thought it was a masterpiece, even though it wasn't that great. A wobbling circle for a head, stick arms and legs. She gave that paper a hug as if it were made of gold. Then Mom entered, though. You could have thought she had caught her playing in the dirt by the expression on her face when she saw her darling baby child curled up next to me. "Sarah," she snapped. "Come here, get away from your sister." Sarah looked confused, but Mommy, Mia drew me. Mom snatched the picture away. "That's nice, honey, but let's go play in your room instead, okay?" And just like that, it started. Every time Sarah tried to get close to me, Mom would pull her away like I was contagious or something. Over time, Sarah learned. She stopped coming to my room, stopped asking me to play or draw for her. By the time she hit her teens, she was just like Mom. I'd hear her giggling with her friends in the living room, but I knew better than to go out there. One day, I wheeled myself out to get a glass of water, forgetting she had friends over. The look of horror on her face when she saw me, it was like looking at a mini version of Mom. "Amelia," she hissed, "go back to your room. My friends are here." And just like that, I was back in my sanctuary, my prison, my room. But you know what? It didn't hurt as much as it used to. Because in that room, I wasn't Amelia the freak, Amelia the embarrassment. I was just Amelia, the girl who could cook a mean omelet, draw pictures that made people smile, even if those people were just me and Grandma, and write poems that captured all the things I couldn't say out loud. Meanwhile, life went on and graduation came. Man, what a mix of emotions that was. There I was, surrounded by my classmates, other special kids like me. And you know what? For once, I felt normal. We were all different in our own ways, but here, in this moment, we were the same. Kids who'd made it despite the odds. I remember looking around at all the smiling faces, the proud parents, the teachers. And for a moment, just a moment, I let myself feel proud too. I'd done it. Despite everything, I'd actually done it. But then reality came crashing back. My eyes scanned the crowd, searching for familiar faces. Mom, Dad, Sarah. Nope, nope, and nope. They were probably sipping cocktails on some beach right about now, enjoying their much-needed family vacation. Funny how their idea of family never seemed to include me. But you know who was there. Grandma, front and center, beaming like I'd just won the Nobel Prize or something. When they called my name, I swear her cheers were loud enough to shake the rafters. After a few months, there was an unexpected hum of enthusiasm around the home. As their 20th wedding anniversary approached, Mom and Dad made the decision to throw a lavish celebration. They had a wonderful family life and were filming an entire freaking movie about it. That thought crossed my mind. Well, this should be interesting. It seemed like I was living in a strange reality show for 2 weeks in a row. We were hauled around the neighborhood amusement complex, a gorgeous natural area, and even a yacht. Where did they ever obtain a yacht? We took many pictures, recorded corny congrats, changed outfits more times than I could keep track of, and even performed songs. It was, let's face it, exhausting, but it was also kind of fun. I was, for once, included. Of course, Mom would squabble over how to arrange my wheelchair to seem natural, and Dad would have this tight-faced expression anytime the photographer needed more time to get me in the picture. However, I was present. I took part in it. I even spent hours writing the unique poetry for my parents. I toiled over every word, rehearsing it in front of my mirror until I could repeat it without faltering. My heart was racing so much that I felt it would explode in my chest when it came time to capture it. Mom, Dad, I uttered in a trembling but resolute voice, 20 years of life and love, of happiness and sorrow. You've persevered despite all the highs and lows, which is evidence of the timeless melody of love. I continued writing verses, pouring forth my heart. There was stillness for a time when I was done. Half expecting to see tears in their eyes, or something, I glanced up. Rather, Dad was looking at his watch as Mom fiddled with Sarah's hair. Mom remarked, "That was nice, Amelia," without quite looking me in the eye. Really imaginative. Shall we now prepare Sarah for her piano piece? And my moment was gone in an instant. However, what's the deal? I refused to let it depress me. Because I had been a part of something for those 2 weeks. I had made a contribution. I knew I had accomplished something exceptional, even if others were unable to recognize it. The big day was drawing near quickly. The filmmaker had been combining our recent video with snippets from the family archives like a magician. I couldn't contain my enthusiasm as I couldn't wait to watch it all come together. I wheeled myself into the living room, ready for the big reveal, as soon as the completed product came. But Mom stopped me in my tracks. "Oh, Amelia," she continued, her words coated in a cheap syrup-like sweetness, "we're saving it for the party. You and everyone else will witness it. In that sense, it will be more unique." The day of the anniversary celebration finally arrived. Grandma's house was furnished as if it were a set from a film. Her vast lawn had been turned into an outdoor theater complete with soft cushions strewn all over the lawn for seats. Guests started to come as the sun started to drop, illuminating everything with a warm glow. Dad cried, "All right, everyone," clinking his glass to attract attention. "If you'd all like to take a seat, we're about to start the show." People were moving quickly to take a seat on the cushions. I remained parked next to Grandma in my wheelchair. The movie started, and she squeezed my hand. Mom and Dad on their wedding day was the first picture taken. They appeared so joyful and youthful. Mom's outfit was stunning, and Dad couldn't look away from her. A lump started to grow in my throat. A montage of their early years together, including trips, get-togethers, and lazy Sundays at home, then began. They appeared so carefree and in love. I examined every shot, waiting for my moment to come. But as their life story played out on television, I started to feel sick to my stomach. I was not seen in any of the pictures that showed them with acquaintances, coworkers, or other family members. My heart leaped as I saw the film of Mom's pregnancy. I realized that this is my chance to make a difference. The following picture, however, showed Sarah as a baby with her mother holding her and her father proudly standing close by. The film went on to depict Sarah's development, including her first steps, her first day at school, her dancing performance, and family getaways. It was similar to viewing a parallel reality in which I didn't exist. The video from our most recent shootings then appeared. As I waited to see myself on TV, I held my breath. I wasn't there, but our family was there, singing and dancing like a picture-perfect unit. It seemed as though I had been removed from each and every frame. I had the feeling of having been hit in the stomach as the truth of what I was witnessing set in. This was intentional. It wasn't an error or oversight. I was eliminated by them. I had been erased from my own family's history. After glancing at my face, Grandma lost her temper. She strode over to turn off the projector. An uneasy stillness fell over the grass. Grandma's voice sliced through the darkness like a razor. "Susan, David. What on earth is this?" The visitors began to mumble awkwardly. Dad moved forward in an attempt to diffuse the tension. Grandma was just getting started when she said, "Now, Mom, let's not make a scene." "Create a stir. Would you like to discuss creating a scene? What if you removed your child from your family tree? If you ask me, the scenario is incredible." Mom was looking pale. "It's not that way," she stumbled to say. Amelia wasn't photogenic, according to the photographer. All we were doing was attempting to present our best selves. Grandma gave a sharp chuckle. "That's rather wealthy, Susan. Shall we discuss how, on the day of her birth, you felt the need to leave her behind? How come I have to guarantee you money in order for you to retain your own child?" Cries went up throughout the throng. I had the feeling that I might get sick. Grandma went on, "I supported this family for years. Spent on your luxury items and trips. You were unable to even show your kid the affection I asked for." Sarah suddenly sprang to her feet. "Stop talking," she cried. "Please stop talking. Amelia is so humiliating." I also didn't want her to be on the video. There was an unbearable quiet for a while. I was hearing things that I couldn't believe, even with my own sister. With a frigid voice, Grandma turned to face my parents. "Well done. One of your daughters was brought up to share your intolerance." She then delivered the big hint. "What do you know?" "I'm through. My hair is now Amelia. All of my money is going to her." Mom lost it. "Are you crazy? Why does she require money? Instead of a wealth, she needs a full-time nurse." Silently, Grandma murmured, "Get out." She said it again, more loudly, when they remained still. "Please leave my home. Leave my life behind. I will no longer provide for your cozy little life." No one moved for a brief period. Mom then chuckled awkwardly. "Mom, really? You can't be serious." "In my entire life, I have never been more serious." Grandma interrupted her. "Go now and don't return." It resembled a slow-motion train disaster. Sarah and my parents packed up their belongings and walked out, appearing to be in astonishment. With a finality that reverberated around the lawn, Grandma shut the door behind them. As the dust settled, I started to notice people moving about me. One by one, the visitors who had watched the entire terrible episode were coming up to me. Aunt Karen gave me a firm embrace. Uncle Jim gave me an honest, if uneasy, shoulder pat. Some of the friends of my parents, individuals who had never even looked at me before, came up to offer their support. And just like that, I was living in Grandma's large home. What a plot twist, you say? It felt as like I had entered a whole other universe, one in which I was treated with love and respect, rather than as a filthy little secret to be kept under wraps. Grandma and I had a conversation a week or so after the big family meltdown, as I began to refer to it. She responded, "It's okay, Amelia," with that recognizable gleam in her eye. "Let's discuss your future. What kind of life do you wish to lead?" My eyes stared at her, startled. I had never been asked it specifically before. I suppose it was always considered that I only existed to be cared for and never had any dreams of my own. "I am unsure," I stumbled to say. "I never considered." Grandma responded, not in an unpleasant way. "Well, start thinking. Now, kiddo, the world is your oyster. What do you like doing the most?" And then it dawned on me. "I enjoy writing and drawing," I replied, my voice becoming louder. "I want to make stuff." Grandma looked as happy as a Christmas tree. "So why didn't you express that? We'll get you into the most amazing program of reading and art that we can locate." Before I realized it, I had registered in a local college in the literary department. In order to aid me with any physical work I couldn't handle, Grandma had made sure the campus was completely accessible and had even recruited a part-time helper. I was scared the first day of college. I kept waiting for the footsteps, the hushed stares, the sympathetic glances that I had been so used to, but they never materialized. Yes, people saw my wheelchair, but they saw it with interest rather than disapproval. After people got to know me, the real me, instead of the shadow I'd been for so long, my wheelchair stopped being a distinguishing characteristic and just became another aspect of who I was. I discovered a passion for studying that I had never known I possessed. I discovered entire new worlds via literature, and my instructors pushed me to use poetry to find my own voice. My painting studies gave me new skills and methods to put the ideas and emotions I'd long suppressed into paper. Furthermore, what do you know? It turns out that I wasn't all that horrible at this. My artwork was displayed in student shows, and my poetry began to do well in contests. I was getting recognized for my skills rather than my disadvantages for the first time in my life. It wasn't without its challenges, of course. On certain days, the physical and mental suffering was unbearable, and despite everything, I missed my sister and dad. Nevertheless, I had my art in Grandma, and I was steadily creating a life for myself. Here I am now, clutching my very first poetry book that has been published. It's not a really nice volume, but it's mine. Every sentence, every drawing, every picture was inspired by my experiences, my joy, my sorrow, and my development. The dedication to Grandma, who taught me that being different isn't a fault but a feature, makes me grin as I turn the pages. And to everyone who has ever experienced invisibleness, may you be given the courage to stand up for yourself.